Hello guys, and welcome to a new Wargame Red Dragon video today by me, Vulcan. Today I have for you a 4 versus 4 on Jungle Lore, and in this one I'm going to be using an Eastern Bloc 1980s deck. So everybody in the game was also using 1980s decks. That was part of the theme, similar to I think the last video that I put up of Wargame. And once again, this was played on stream, so if you want to check out a lot of these like gameplays and stuff that I do live, like make sure to check out my Twitch channel. Regardless, going to be going over this one today with this Eastern Bloc 1980s. It was a very interesting deck. It relied mostly on T-72s for its tanks, and then also has like a reasonable amount of decent infantry actually, like including like Mochitsun and like Commandosi. That kind of stuff. But let's just speed up the replay a little bit as I get my units down and we can go through them. So here you can see I do have a bunch of T-72 Jaguars. They're kind of like upgraded T-72s. There's also the BMP-1 SP-1s. These BMP-1 SP-1s are basically standard BMP-1s, but they have a Malyutka HGM on them, which is pretty good. HGMs in 1980s decks are pretty good, especially if you're playing against other 1980s. We've got a couple of cubs here. These cubs are the big old anti-air with the 3 missiles on them. Got to keep them reloaded. Got an MI2. It's going to be flying off ahead. All these like BMP ones, I'm pretty sure have Mochitsun in them. Yeah, they're the East German ones. Alpha UAZ moving up ahead, and I've also got the OT-64 there. I think that has like Pruskomnisi in it, which are like Czech sniper squads, I think. We've got Scott 3 here that's going to move up to Michael to capture that. The Mi2 is just landing here from Genjeff. It's interesting to see like helicopter commands being used. I think this was mainly due to the fact that in this game Genjeff was using a Polish support deck. So the 1980s Polish support deck. So he probably had a lot of cards available to use in his command section of his deck, or like support or whatever it is. So he's brought in the Mi2Ds to capture like Jot and Leonid at the start, which is actually going to give us a pretty decent advantage because we like capture a lot of stuff early on. But ultimately we kind of leave a hole in the middle of the map in terms of actual units at the start. If you can see that Stashman's moving up here with a couple of these Type AT Spags, and we've got the Topaz 2As coming in with a little bit of infantry there to kind of hold Gregory. But ultimately you probably want to contest Gregory at the start. It's one of those positions in the in this map and maps in general in Wargame that you want to contest. It's one of like the 1 point center, more centered areas of the map that you can contest. Strelaterm's going to move up here. Going to go for the shots onto the Kiowa. Going to miss 2 of them. Going to miss 3 of them. Last one's going to hit the mark just as the Promets are about to kill it. These Promets bringing up like multiple AA units is actually really nice because manpad squads in large groups can really be scary when like a aircraft and like an airplane in particular flies right over the top of them, because all of the manpads just fire all at once, and then often you'll get a kill. Well, it depends on the quality of the manpads, but yeah, they definitely have a good chance of it. Going to be bomber coming in there looking for the VDV, not going to hit them there. Pro Warrior doing a decent job over here. F7B coming in for the Chinook, which is currently having a go at the ZSD in the open. It's always really cool when you see like these helicopters hovering with miniguns, because you could imagine this like being done against like light vehicles in real life. In this case, that is just kind of bouncing most of those shots. But is being stunned and is taking a little bit of damage over time. But then Pihard the Smeg here with the Topaz 2As. These Topaz 2As are actually really nice, good value for money transports, because they can take out enemy transports quite well due to the AP power of 12. And furthermore, they also are good against infantry because they have 2 HE. Two Su-7s come in there. One of them does get shot down, unfortunately, but provide nice napalm cover for the town. Some commandos do manage to still get in. So we are still at a +1 advantage because I've captured Michael, but ultimately we don't really have a very good position in Gregory, although I did manage to get some Moschützen into the left side over here. I'm now pushing up on the left into the light riflemen with the T-72Ms. In some cases you can get away with like pushing tanks right into infantry, especially in this time period, because you don't have weapons like the Apalas, for example. The Apalas is like a really high AP power AT weapon that the French get, and some other units as well. Ultimately, they're just really strong at taking out things like these T-72Ms. But in this case, because that's just like light riflemen, I can just charge into them, and the 4 HE power of the T-72Ms is actually pretty strong, so able to take that engagement. But yeah, these T-72Ms are the best things that I get. They're 55 points, 2,100 meter range, 50% accuracy. They're not like amazing, like decent, but like not like amazing in the grand scheme of things. I think they're okay for the time period, but like a Chieftain Mark V for 45 points is actually almost better than a T-72M Jaguar. Gonna see that the unit in there does manage to take out one of my Jaguars, trying to get the recon up to the edge here so that I can spot things that I'm going to be up against. It's going to be an Abrams moving through. They're at close range. Abrams don't really stand a chance against T-72s, just due to T-72s being really good value for money at that range. There is this M09 on M901 ITV AT launcher. Pretty good at taking out enemy tanks. AH-1J though, that's just going to free hit my T-72s. I can't really do anything about that. These poor guys were left completely without AA. I'm going to move up the Stalemate on this left side to try and take care of this AH-1J Cobra. I do also take an HGM to the front armor there onto the Jag. Got some OT-62Bs there just to reinforce that. They're the same as the Topaz 2As actually, those OT-62Bs, it's just a different country. More napalm coming in onto the town. T-72 is just trying to push up here. Do manage to kill a Vulcan by pushing up, so that was nice. But ultimately this is just in a terrible spot. And you can see there the Abrams just does a drive-by. I think that was an Abrams. It was either Abrams or a Chieftain. So yeah, we're not in a terrible position. We are 71 points up at this moment in time due to the fast cap at Jot and Leonid. But now we're in trouble because there's no real advantage on the map. We don't have really a way to capture Gregory safely, like maybe putting a CV in this area where I've got the Moschützen, possibly, but it's quite obvious if we don't have any troops contesting the right side, which currently Genjeft is struggling to do due to the initial deployment being a bit sluggish from our team. Pro Warrior was doing a really good job of contesting Elena early on, which was maintaining the +1 lead for us, but they managed to get the leader into there, or the commander into there, and therefore they've equaled things out. So no +1 for either team anymore. I bring up a couple of T-72s for the town just to kind of help out there at close range, just do some damage. But the commandos do have the Carl Gustav. If they can get some good side shots, some T-72s are going to be in trouble. And I'm going to be reversing this way, which is kind of risky with 4 chieftains potentially ready to fire into the rear armor, but in the end I'm just more worried about the commandos just side-shotting those, and they managed to do so. It's not the best move from me. Boris is moving up with these frogs. They were using their MGs to attack my Moschützen. My Moschützen had to back off there. I do manage to bring in, or the Kubs are up on this hill. I'm going to be bringing in some artillery eventually to help me out, but in the meantime we're kind of just getting some help from the Koksan here of Stashman. That's what's firing all the way over here into the corner. That's taking out the AT there for me. So again, the Carl Gustav being my worst enemy here, as it takes out the T-72M Jaguar. The Spag can definitely do a lot of damage, and is doing a lot of damage. My Strela 10M managed to shoot down both of the frogs, which is good. T-72Ms are going to move up here to try and help deal with the Delta Force. but ultimately the Abrams is in position, and this Abrams does have a really nice rate of fire compared to the T-72, and that is only exacerbated by the fact that my T-72 is shaken because it took the first shot and now panicked, so it's taken ages to reload. Again, unless I can get some more decent shots onto the M1 Abrams, like I should probably just have backed off from that engagement, but it's only a T-72, I don't mind about it too much. MiG-23 BNs are coming in though, we're going to be looking for the kill onto the Abrams there, and boom, lovely shot. MiG-23 does the job. Also going to be looking for shots onto the Chieftains. Managed to take out one, and a second. Beautiful strike from the MiG-23 there. Lack of AA on this left-hand side does allow me to get some pretty good kills out of that. And these aren't, you know, that's 90 points worth of tanks taken out by a plane that probably costs, you know, about the same amount of points. Rocket strike coming in there from the limb does take out another one. But not too bad, we're starting to make some ground back. The Cub does manage to stun the Falcon. Let me shoot that down. This is another thing that you don't really have to worry about in the 1980s, is seed too much. So you can generally keep your radar AA on. And also your radar AA in general is pretty cheap. That bomb did whiff a little bit there and do a lot of damage to the Bachongsu. So the Bachongsu are going to get beaten out of that town for the time being. But the bomb did also do a lot of damage to the commandos. So the next set of infantry that comes up will probably be able to clean them up quite nicely. Promet's there, trying to defeat these M113s. 80 gems coming in from the side though is not very helpful. Su-24 coming in with the bombing strike. These Su-24s, they spread really well with those 250 kilogram bombs, it's really nice. Su-7B, they got the limb coming in there as well. Basically like just a MiG, one of the old MiG-17s. Alright, now we're in trouble because our opponent has captured Michael. Now it's generally quite obvious, since I control this side of the forest where they are, like the command is most likely here at this point in the game. Like we know that as a team. But it's a matter of how we deal with that. So Stashman does have his coxswains and stuff, but I'm going to have to use the artillery that I mentioned earlier. So I'm going to start to bring in some artillery. This artillery is not terribly accurate, so I'm going to have to get it close to reduce the dispersion so it can actually be useful. So that's what I'm going to try and do there. Our opponent has also now put a command in Gregory, so that's just making our problem even worse. Really nice bombing strike there, did a lot of damage to that infantry, really, really nice. Twin Hueys moving up on this left-hand side, probably going to be bringing in light riflemen. It's generally a nice combo for the Twin Hueys. I don't really have any like AA up on this left-hand side at the moment, so you can see my Strela 10M is going to make its way over there. And of course there is the Type 80 Spag as well. Maybe I could have like pinged an attack marker or something to get Stashman to give me a hand, but as soon as they get low, my Priscum Nisi can fire on those, and like the sniper actually did fire at the Twin Huey. It needs to be careful because those Twin Hueys can melt infantry quite fast if they're left to their own devices. And when Abrams trying to push across the open here, definitely doing a lot of damage to Gen Jeff's transport vehicles there. But more and more infantry is coming back. Or coming in as we're putting pressure onto Gregory. Just got to start to try and clear out whatever's here, and then get our own leader into Gregory at some point if we can. Su-7B coming in there, looking for the bombing strike, gonna get taken down. And the MiG's also gonna go down as well. Unfortunately a pretty bad airstrike there. The T-72 Jaguars though, trying to take on the Chieftain Mark 10s. These Chieftain Mark 10s are really scary. 65 points, they got decent 14 front armor, 16 AP, whilst the T-72 Jaguar has 2 less AP and, 2 less front armor. So yeah, the Chieftains, and they have, oh no, I thought they had better rate of fire as well, but they don't. The only reason that those T-72Ms won in that position was because they outnumbered them. F-111 coming in again, with that big old bombing strike. Look at that, juicy. Juicy bombing strikes there. LBTP is going to get taken out by the T-72. These were MRAWs. These MRAWs are actually kind of a bit worrying for my T-72s because they fire really fast. They do manage to take out both my T-72s there. Ultimately, I should have had them probably supported by infantry. But, yeah, hindsight's 2020, I guess. So going to bring in an Mi-8 here. The idea was to use this leader to go into the backside of this objective and just kind of hide behind that hill. I've also now got my artillery pieces moving up as well, so they can fire onto this location. You can see that Crow Warriors pinged that. So we're going to want to try and, you know, stop this +2 advantage that our opponent has, because they've now taken the lead in terms of conquest points. But with the town on this side now under our complete control, thanks to the absolute abundance of infantry from Stashman and Jinjef, we now have potentially 2 places where the CV could be, which is much better for us because it means that it's going to be harder for our opponent to spot and kill. So for like us, for example, we know it's there because there's nowhere else it really could have been without us seeing it. Especially since I had some like recon infantry right here that would have seen them sneak into like these little tree lines or something. So we know it's in the corner. And my artillery is like finally firing at that. Whereas on this side for our opponents, like we could technically have a CV like sneak into one of these buildings, and I could also have it on this side. But unfortunately the US Marines are going to take out my Vidra, and my poor command squad's going to have to do a runner. They are getting the hell out of there as the US Marines move forwards. T-72 Jaguars trying to engage the M1 Abrams. Not doing too great. The M1 Abrams do have 15 front armor, so they absorb quite a lot of damage from those 14 AP power shots, but yeah, my artillery is firing away. We're managing to stun the chieftain. I do manage to get this T-72M here as well to come in for the flanking shot, so that was nice. Get some good damage there onto both of the Abrams to help pin them down and basically allow this T-72M to actually kill these things. In the end, Sea Cobras come up on the left-hand side there, take out the T-72M Jaguar, but this one's only on 2 health, so I'm looking to get lucky here with a couple shots just to finish that off. But there is an MBT on my flank. As long as that doesn't hit too much, we should be fine. I've got the Mi-25 S24 here that was moved up. It used its 240mm rockets on the poor US Marines over here. Chaparral's taking out the Mi-2 on top of the hill. Thankfully, Stashman backing me up with the Type 80 Spags did clean up these AH-1TC Cobras. Yeah, the Mi-24 is busy annihilating more US Marines as they jump back into that building. It's a really, really nice helicopter, this is. Artillery's still going on that objective. I'm just trying to break down whatever is there. Another Mi-25 S24 in position. That's looking for the kill onto the MBT-70. Jaguar, again, getting hit hard by the Delta Force. Those Delta Force were a big problem for me throughout the game. They killed so many of my tanks. It was really sad, actually. And this S24 just completely whiffs on most of its HGMs, so we don't really manage to kill much with that either. But those are going to return to base. Basically what you can do with a helicopter is actually quite a nice tip for if you play a war game. You can select like an aircraft, well, a helicopter, or basically any unit really, and just right click on the fob, and it will just move into like a range and then land nearby. In this case, my Mi-24 decided that the best place it could land is right in the middle of the road. Forcing everything around it. So dumb. Regardless, it is now reloading and I forget about it for the rest of the game. Right, my artillery is firing away still looking for the kill onto the enemy command. You can see I've set this forest almost entirely alight, trying to get rid of it. We are starting to make a little bit of ground here thanks to Jinjef's infantry, but I'm going to be bringing up some more like Mod Schutzen in the BMP-1s, and then I can eventually move forwards my commander once we know it's covered. But our opponents are up to 214 points, doing really well. Holly's keeping the pressure on against Stashman and Genjeft and Gregory. They're maintaining the cap there. Crow Warrior does have this BMP-1K, like looking to potentially contest Lena, but he is also under pressure still from Taki over on that side, so he's definitely got the positional advantage, I think, Crow Warrior in general on this side, but ultimately, like, Gregory and Michael are the problem here, so we got to try and deal with that ASAP. The Mutchison hoping they can kill off this Delta Force. And once I know there's not really much more in terms of like infantry or vehicles on this side, I can then move forwards and go for Gregory. SU-7 BMK coming in. I've got an SU-7 BM as well. This one's got 8 250 kilogram bombs and complete overkill onto the last Delta Force. Gets rid of that. And now we're able to move forwards into the other heavy cover. AH-1T coming up again. Stashman's Type 80 Spag in position to help us out. Gonna get this done. And that poor helicopter spinning out of control and crashing. Yeah, these two Spags really did help me out a lot here. I do have my Shredded M's, but I think my deck actually kind of lacked AAA for the most part. I've got the ROM there. Got the Cubs, got the Shredded M's, yeah, but no AAA. Sorry, not AAA. T-72 is now coming in again. They're going to be charging up this road on the left side of Gregory. Managed to eventually, I think, kill whatever command vehicle was in the backside of Michael. And Mutchison now moving into Gregory means that I can start to counter cap this as well. So we've made Gregory now equal. We're capturing Michael. So things are back to even, basically. Because we got this 1 point sector that we should hold. They've got the 1 point sector at Elena that they should hold. And then Chariton's a 2 and Fedor's a 2. Admittedly, I think like Chariton's probably easier to hold than Fedor. That's for sure, because we got the town there. Although, Fedor's probably quite hard to cap because it's very open as well. So Mutchison here, they're going to be engaging the US Marines in the open. Mutchison do really well. When they're in cover against things that aren't in cover, they do very well, because they do have shock training, so they don't get panicked as easily. But with the LVTPs covering these US Marines, like eventually the Mutchison are going to get killed regardless. T-72Ms are, sorry, just standard T-72s are on their way. I've got an S-10 coming behind those this time around, so they don't get killed by the AH-1J Cobras like they did before. Able to take out those LVTPs. Actually end up capturing an M35. Now the interesting thing about capturing an M35 here is it kind of tells me that there's no units nearby. So I'm able to push quite aggressively here. Going to be chewing up some of these US Marine squads. MiG-23 BNs coming in for these Abrams. Looking for the kills. Managed to kill one of them. The other one didn't get its second missile off, unfortunately, so that one's still alive. But yeah, doing a decent job here. Doing a lot of damage to the US Marines. Can't really move up the Straton M too far forwards because it might get side shot from the left-hand side there. Got the Aardvark coming in. It's going to go for the bombing strike onto the T-72s. Bombs, if they direct hit, can do a lot of damage, but a couple of those are relatively healthy right now. Kiowa here. Recon trying to use its minigun to hit the Mozostelsi, but the Spag takes out one. My Strela 10M had taken out the other. Yeah, there goes the one on that side. So I'm going to split up these T-72s. We're able to take out a couple more units here that we're reinforcing, which is good. Spag's going to find and kill off those US Marines, I think. Oh no, they get stunned. It's probably going to be dead. T-72 though in a good position. And you see my the M35 cargo that I captured. I'm just fast moving that into enemy territory to see where the enemy units are. So I'm basically using it like recon. Like as soon as they get captured, that's where I know stuff is going to be. Got some bombers in there to take out those riflemen that I don't want to deal with. And I've also decided to bomb the US Marines there as well that took out the SPAC, because I don't want them shooting my T-72s in the back. Although we do have the Abrams moving up behind us here. But I got these two Scott 2AMs on the way. These are a unit that I really quite like, actually. They have like not only their main gun, which can penetrate like low armored units, but they also have the two missiles. So they're kind of like really cheap AT vehicles. MiG-23 comes in again, gets the Abrams. I've unloaded the Commandosi here to kind of cover the infantry command that I have. My T-72s are still just attack moving into the backside of Gregory. It's this T-72 looking for those transports there. And what I'm trying to do is basically continue to put pressure on the right side. You can see the 4 squads of man-pads just annihilating that aircraft as it comes straight over the top. Managed to find a chaparral back there, that's really good. This is one thing that can happen sometimes. If you do make a breakthrough like this on a flank and you get into the rear of your opponents, you'll find all of their like AA and stuff, and it's really expensive for them to replace. So killing all of that is really, really useful. So taking out that chaparral there is like really annoying for our enemies. But got to make sure I take out this infantry squad before it gets too close and takes out the T-72. They are just diggers. If I manage to get like a couple shots into them, I can panic them and then they won't be so effective. I've got some BMP-1s coming through here as well now with the Mutschützen. And what I'm going to do with these is just kind of head them to the most likely location for our opponent's CV, which is going to be like in the backside of Gregory, somewhere near these buildings. Either there or like in this forest area. So my Su-7BMs are coming in for bombing strikes there. You can see we do actually end up finding the command vehicle. I'm not sure if it got killed by the bombs, but either way, my BMP-1s get killed by the chieftains, that's for sure, and the Mutschützen have to run for cover. AH-1Ss coming over my Commandosi doesn't do them too many favours. And you got so many infantry like that, all in one space. The H1 Cobras actually get shot down really fast. Obviously, the help from the Strata 2Ms there, definitely something that is good. Mutschützen, unfortunately, just going to get hammered there quite hard. T-72 going to get taken out by the M1 Abrams, so my push, pretty much taken care of there. The MiG-23 going to get a couple kills, which is nice. But eventually, it's going to go down. Can only get so lucky with so many strikes there. We're back to a +1. Our opponents are on 283 points, which is quite a lot. And we're on going on 90 now. Do have a +1 advantage. 12 minutes or 13 minutes left in the game because there is a 40-minute time limit. So we got a lot of work to do, honestly. Commandosi there absolutely annihilating that tank as they catch it in the side of it. A couple T-72 Jaguars coming up to reinforce that left side. We were dealing also with pressure into Chariton at this point. You can see that Turkey has managed to managed to get some Fallschirmjäger into this town. The Su-7B is trying to deal with the MBT-70s. Lots of bombs coming down on those. Yeah, Turkey and Panzer on this right-hand side were really doing well, pushing up hard. That's another bunch of vehicles moving in here. The AMX-13s, they're going to jump a bunch of chasseurs in. They're going to find the leader. And this is a +2 sector, so we can't really afford to lose these. You can see that I'm still using my artillery here. This is just plastering this town area and also the forest area with shots to keep our opponents from getting back into Gregory easily. This T-72 Jaguars are just trying to fast move through Fedor so that I can find the enemy CV. But here I do manage to find another transport vehicle. Eventually though we bump into an Abrams, and the Abrams is difficult again for the T-72Ms to deal with. Like it just, the AP versus armor is just not in favor of the T-72s at all. US Marines absolutely hammering the Commandosi here. Commandosi losing out. US Marines, while stationary, do have like pretty good accuracy. The Commandosi are actually better, but I think they probably got an advantage due to like one of the Commandosi already being a bit damaged. I managed to get an MA-8T though into that sector. I managed to decap Fedor, which is their +2 sector, which is really important because they're capturing or stopping us from capturing Chariton because they killed our CV here. So we're at a +1 again. My MiG-23 does manage to kill one of those M1 Abrams, which is really good. Coming around for the second one here. Bit cheeky. Does get the hit. But is going to get shot down. Maybe a little bit overzealous there. But we have managed to get 2 CVs into here. Stashman also brought up a CV tank. But these tanks are very obvious, so probably not going to last too long. But I mean, my infantry is also not really in cover either, so that's not ideal. Potentially what I could have done is put this commander over here. But I didn't know if they had AA, like on this side of the river, so that would have been really risky for me to fly my Mi-8T that direction. Mortar fire is coming in on that because they can see it. The Aardvark comes in and bombs it. But we still have the Chon Maho, so you know, we're holding on to the flag for a little bit longer. +1. We got CVs now coming into Chariton. I'm going to be bombing it with all my Su-7Bs. These are really cool looking aircraft. Bombs away. Trying to do as much damage as I can there with those Su-7Bs. I've got a Scott coming up. Benjeft has like some recon, oh sorry, command infantry. And I've also got some Jaguars moving up to engage stuff in the open. We can take care of like this M551 Akav and the starships and stuff like that. Abrams we're still going to struggle to deal with at range. But if we can take back Chariton, then we maintain the +1 objective again. So the fact that we managed to decap Fedor whilst they decapped Chariton was super important in this game for us to have a chance of still being able to win. There's 8 minutes left on the clock. It's really, really close. Like +1, I'm not convinced that we have enough time to win. We'd really have to make sure that we capture Fedor even. But I have managed to bump into like a bunch of like light armored units here with my T-72Ms. So I managed to kill another Chaparral. We've killed another AT vehicle. I'm engaging a second AT vehicle here, which I managed to kill, and there's also the Hawk behind it. So if I can keep killing all of these extra support weapons that my opponent's bringing up, we can really do like a number on the value that he's getting out of his troops, and therefore, you know, continue to have a chance of taking Fedor. The Pruskomnisi moving up here, being engaged by Rangers isn't ideal, but Mozartowski is still trying to get close. I think I just had them like on a right-click move command, which really isn't ideal. They're going to take a lot of damage if they keep moving. But Su-7BM going to be coming in with the bombs once again. The good old upside down styling. To take out those Rangers nice and easy. That Red Eye can be taken out by the Pruskomnisi, but there is multiple gunships on the way. These gunships can kill infantry very quickly with those twin miniguns. Going to bring in the Lazur to try and shoot those down. Goodbye to that infantry unit. T-62Ds as well, also kind of in trouble in this situation because the heat rockets that these gunships have can actually be pretty strong against lighter armoured tanks. Lazur takes out the AH Cobra further back, which is more important for us to take care of. My Strela 10M on the move manages to take care of these gunships, allowing the T-62s to continue. So we capture back Chariton. I've got my T-72Ms in position there. We're managing to get some more infantry in, but our opponent has now counter-capped Chariton. We managed to get rid of the leader in Fedor. I managed to arty this area in order to kill it. That was kind of a guess from me because obviously I'd had the T-72Ms drive all the way up here previously, so they weren't on this side of the river, obviously. And the only reasonable place you could hide it in Fedor is like one of these tree lines. So I just started with the one furthest back, and I managed to hit the mark. So yeah, decapping Fedor at the same time like they decap Chariton was super good again. But it's now a +3 because I managed to bomb out their CV. And now we own Chariton, and they don't own Fedor. So, yeah, super important. The Harrier just about misses the leader unit. There's actually 2 leader units here that Genjeff's now bringing in. Genjeff is using a support deck, so he has loads of these command units available. A10 Thunderbolt coming over. You've got to love to see it. Almost hits that star with the one inside. But now there's a big old push over here from Forest, and Taki's got some reinforcements from Taki now, which is super important for them to hold Fedor. Just like me going over to the other side of the map to help here. For those heavy hogs, they are busy wiping out my poor T-72Ms. Just like grenade launcher spam and rockets. You know, the T-72Ms don't like that very much. Surprise, surprise. So I've got this Scott 3. That was going to try and zip up into Fedor, but you can see that I kind of like pull it back and just like run away with it. Because obviously I don't want it to get killed by the Leopard or the M1 Abrams. So we're doing a bit of a runner there. I've got some Jaguars coming up, but there's a big old attack coming in here from like Taki. And we've also got like Holly up on the high ground here with the Chieftain Mark 10s. So it's still very close. Now, we've managed to close the gap, which is nice, because it's most likely going to be a draw at this point. 271 points for us, 296 for them. But I'm not content with a draw. Like, obviously, you want to get a victory. So we're going to be trying our best to do that by just continuing the way that we are and hoping that we can maintain the +1 long enough to maybe get a victory. But it's going to be really, really close. The Promet here, moving up and taking care of a lot of these helicopters is super important. Got an ADO IDS coming in for the bombing strike there. That's going to go for some of this infantry. Those MRAWs, really scary for those T-72 Jaguars. Loads of spags on this hill. And T-72Ms have to close range in order to actually engage these, even though they share the same range as the M1 Abrams, but they are armor inefficient. So that's kind of difficult to deal with. New CV, Crow Warriors trying to ping, just in case I know where it is, but obviously I probably don't. The Su-7B coming in with a bombing strike just to kind of panic this, maybe kill it. If I can get lucky with the bombs, do manage to do so. Now the MBT is the one I've got to take care of. If we can get a couple good shots in there and make it panic, then I would definitely win that. Another Su-7B coming in though for the bombing strike. My Air Force this game did a lot of favours for me, especially the MiGs early on with the AT rockets. Super important. ZSU's deleting the infantry unit when it showed itself. Actually crazy. Loads of rockets coming in there onto the backside of Gregory. Just trying to stop any counter caps as we match points in this game. Both having 296 points briefly. Super, super close game. Riflemen moving up there, pushing them out. T-72 Jaguars. I'm still trying to be super aggressive here just to stop them from putting any commands into this tree line. We've breached the 300 point mark. I've got some more Scott 2AMs with more infantry coming in. I've got the T-72 Jaguars on the way. Got another Scott R3 moving up. One of our opponents did leave the game, but here comes Holly with his F-111C, and what's he gonna do? Gonna get shot down, but he's also gonna take out my command. So we lose the +1 briefly, but because I still had this spare Scott R3, I'm able to just capture Michael again, like pretty much immediately, which is like super important. You can see I'm gonna start to move that into a different location. Not so far back, put it a bit further forwards. Definitely like more risky for being hit on ground, but as long as I have like these T-72Ms still putting on pressure further up, I should be okay. So pop that in there, tell it to chill, I am getting hit pretty hard by these Lynx AH-1 tows, which is annoying, but trying to take out enemy tanks here at the same time. Commandosi going to unload with Scott 2 AMs in order to take on the Assault Pioneers. Managed to take care of that one. Tornado GL1 coming in. Takes the majority of the AA fire for the F-111C. Going for the bombing strike again into the back of the sector. But not this time. Not this time, Holly. Not this time. As I've got the Scott R3 a little bit further forwards. So I managed to take out quite a few units there with the Jaguars. Unfortunately, they all die in the end. Mainly due to the Lynx AH-1 tows, which were just free firing on them the whole time. The +1's still ticking. 51 seconds left on the clock. Tornado's going to come in for the bombing strike onto the backside of the town. Actually, it went straight for the CVs, but didn't actually kill them. There is a tank CV there, so that's super lucky. Well, it's not necessarily lucky. It's a good job of Stashman to get one in there. They do manage to counter-cap Gregory. So back to equal, but 326 points to 296. Are we going to win the game? We got to try and win this by getting just ahead enough. Scott 2 AMs are moving up. Commandosi moving in on the side here just because I don't want them again to get another CV into Michael. The one in Gregory is annoying, of course. If I had more ammo on my artillery, I could definitely start firing at that. We do spot it just as the game ends, but as it does end, we realise that it's a minor victory for our team. And yeah, this is like as close as it gets, right? Because the way that the game works is if you're within 10% of the opposing team's conquest points, then it's a draw. And when you look at the score, you think that's probably 10%, right? Well, basically, we've got 30 more points than they do. And they've got 296 conquest points. So, like, that's 30 points. So, 296, like 10% of that is 29.6. And in Wargame, it doesn't round down, it rounds... sorry, it doesn't round up, it rounds down. So technically, for it to be a draw, there'd have to be 29 points between us. But because we have one more point, the 30th point, we take the victory, the minor victory. In the end, it didn't really matter. Like, I didn't really care about winning or losing that much. But it's really, really funny to realize that it was that close that we won that game. Like, obviously, yeah, like I said, in the end, like, I just care about having fun in this game. And honestly, that was, like, one of a really, really fun game to play. With those aircraft, with, the tanks, with the breakthroughs. The big 23 BNs, look how much they killed for me. Like, these M1 Abrams, like, not killing those M1 Abrams and the Chieftains would have made it so much more difficult for my T-72s. So, using them well throughout the game, like, super allowed me to, like, move up fast on that left-hand side and get a lot of damage in. Like, my T-72s barely killed enemy tanks. What they did kill, though, was, like, things like chaparrals, and that is devastating because it allows me to keep bringing in the MiG-23 BNs. So, yeah. In the end, a fantastic game, very dynamic game, like, went backwards and forwards. People were pushing, like, I was pushing on the left. We had people pushing on the right. Yeah, it's crazy. What's going on with that name? Excuse me. Anyway, moving on. That is it. That is this game. Thank you to everybody who played in it. Very, very cool game. Had a lot of fun. This happened a little while ago, like on one of my streams. But I managed to get around to recording it again. I think I did record this before, but unfortunately a power cut happened and I lost the video. So I decided to record it again once I'd kind of like forgotten how I'd recorded it before, because otherwise doing the replay commentary can get a bit weird. But anyway, that's it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.